welcome back to Kicking It with Colton House. I'm Caitlin, a realtor here with Colton House.
And I am Venetia, another realtor here at Colton House.
I'm Abraham.
So today we're going to be talking about how we got started as agents and what our experience was like our first year in real estate. But before we do that, we want to shout out a small-owned business here in Houston.
Yes, so shout out to Bria. She actually came in and helped us here at Colton House hand make these candles for our clients. So if you want to reach her and use her services, she was absolutely amazing. The candles smell great, and my clients love them. So we'll leave her handle and stuff at the bottom.
So today we have Abraham joining us. Say hi, Abraham.
Hey.
Welcome, Abraham.
Abraham is a class clown.
Yes.
So, okay, we're going to
And
start
I'm
with
his
you first.
understudy.
You are. So we're going to start with you first. How did you get into real estate?
Well, I got into real estate initially when I was about 20 years
Really?
old.
Really?
Yeah, that was my first attempt.
I never knew that.
Yeah, that was my first attempt. So I was with, like a lot of my older brokerages, a brokerage that wasn't supportive, no training, no nothing. They just kind of
Sound like the first year.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just kind of threw you out there. They encouraged you to sit inside the office for hours at a time,
And make cold calls.
or just take calls. That would come in and you'll get business that way. There was really no coaching, nothing. There was no Lori back then, essentially.
I did not know you
So-
started at 20. That's new.
I
Yeah,
know.
so I did that for about a year, and I got burnt out of not making money, nothing happening, investing all this money into becoming a realtor. And this is also before YouTube or any of that, so nothing.
Oh, yeah.
So before social media or anything like that. So
Wow.
you couldn't get on YouTube or Google to figure
For help?
something out. Yeah, for help or anything
man.
like that. So if your broker didn't answer the phone, you're
Just-
or if your broker didn't answer the 911 page on their beeper, then
Wait. Abraham said beeper?
yeah.
This was before my time.
Yes.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
All right.
Or the two-way pager, you send like a little message real quick.
Yes.
That was really back in the day.
Yes.
So okay, since you started real estate at 20, what was your first transaction like? Since you didn't do much, but what was your first transaction like?
I had one transaction. It was selling my grandfather's lot. It was a residential lot in the Woodlands before it became what it is now. It was, I don't know what street that is. I guess 2920 or something like that. Way out there. It was the sticks.
Yeah.
There was literally 5 other houses out there. But he'd had it for 40 years. And he probably felt bad because I didn't have any business. And at the same time, probably wanted to get rid of it because it was kind of coming up there at that time, which I think was a mistake. You probably would get 10 times that now. But yeah, I sold that lot. I listed it, had no idea how to list it.
Wow.
It took me asking probably 3-4 agents in the office to figure out how to actually fill out all the required
that's
contracts. Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Wow.
So
I bet you're a beast now, though.
what's
I
that?
bet you're a beast now, though. You can list, you can do all those things that you initially couldn't do, obviously, since you started at 20.
Yeah, and I think that's normal for everybody that starts. You get in, it's your, on TV they make it look easy, but
Right.
contracts and that whole process and how to actually approach situations, in your clients that favor your client's best interest, and all that comes with a lot of just having to do your own work and going through it and seeing it.
So at what point did real estate start? Did you really start to get into it and take off? Okay, I'm going to just...
So when I was finally done with hopping around from one wrong brokerage to another.
How many did you hop?
It took a few, and so, but the last one I think is what broke,
Yeah. You're good.
the camel's back. Yeah, the straw that broke the camel's back for sure. And Lori was actually there, and that's how I met Lori.
That's cool. That is
And,
really, really dope.
Yeah, so she was my actual mentor. I guess you could say I called her like I would call my broker, but she actually answered the phone.
And she had your back.
Yeah, she had my back, and she was getting zero out of it. It's not like, she helped me out. She got a piece of the deal.
Yeah.
That's not how it was.
It was just genuine.
Yeah, and she was running her own, interior design business on top of being an agent.
Yeah.
And being a mentor and actually having a mentor group that would meet.
Super dope.
Yeah.
And that's
so,
how you ended up here today.
Yeah. So.
Love it. Love to hear it. It's like,
So I helped my parents find their first home. And so
Wow.
after that, I was like, I guess this is what I want to do.
I hear that. Well, how did I start in real estate? So since I was 12, when I was 12 years old, around 12 years old, my pastor had kind of like spoken into my life. He told me, he was like, if you change that attitude of yours, you change that attitude of yours and you go into real estate, God's going to do something amazing. You're going to touch some people. You're going to succeed. And
You had a bad attitude?
oh, me.
Okay.
Well, I wouldn't say a bad attitude. It was just like,
Were you just fighting?
Misguided.
yeah, I was just a little sassy. It was like, I knew everything. If you said something, 9 times out of 10, I was gonna have a rebuttal, or I was gonna have a question, or I was gonna be in somebody else's business. Like, no, that's not it. So,
You said was?
I mean, a little bit.
I was about to say the same thing. I was like, was? She's still very much fighting.
It's still lingering, and every now and then my mama texts me and be like, the pastor said, okay, all right, I'm getting it back together. But I really like throughout my life, and then everybody would kind of say stuff to me like, we waiting for you to sell that $1 million house. We waiting for you to get it together. We want to see you. And I was like, I made a decision to move to Houston from upstate New York. Like, okay, real estate, here I come.
Big move.
I came down here with $250 in my pocket, and I stayed in my homegirl's second bedroom, and sis had a dream, and that was about it.
Wow.
So I had to work 2 jobs, and then I did school online and got my real estate license, passed it on the first try. And my very first year, I think I passed in October. I sold my first house by December. But the crazy part was that typically never happens with agents.
I was about to say, how?
I don't even know. I really don't know, but it was like the confidence I needed. And the crazy part was the very first transaction, I did not even see my client until until we met up to get the earnest money. It literally was all through text.
Wow.
It was the most weirdest transaction. I got them a lead online, and we text, and we closed
Wow.
in 45 days. I was like, okay. But then after that, everything went like this.
So you closed your first deal a few months after you got
Yep.
licensed, and then what happened?
And then I had the same experience most people. Like your first year, it was a little overwhelming. There was so many different things. People tell you like, you should be in the office at least 6 hours of the day, or you should be doing cold calls, or do this, do that. And it was like, I needed to find what kind of like worked for me,
That's okay, yeah.
my personality, my way of doing things. And so I kind of fumbled and bumbled for a little while, for maybe a year or 2 or 3. And then I got it together, and I met Lori and came to Colton House, and just been doing it ever since.
Wow. Okay, so I know we talked about the brokerages that we were a part of.
Yeah.
And how there was a lack of training and support and things like that. But let's talk about how your success doesn't solely depend on what company you're a part of. It's really on you. So, like, what did you do
No,
to...
it's entirely on you. The thing is, though, as a new agent, your first year or so, if you don't have much action going on and you're not at a brokerage, like I was saying, that's supportive, you're not going to get that exposure to have that confidence to go into that listing presentation,
Yep.
to engage in dialogue with people on the outside if you're at a social event or something like that when it comes to the topic of real estate, right? So when you come to a place like Colton House, right, you get all of that.
Right.
Lori actually answers the phone. She responds to tags.
Definitely.
And then
Most definitely.
aside from Lori, you've got a few other veteran agents, that are more than willing to answer the phone and give you their input. So you're never really like walking around like
Just aimlessly by yourself.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the reason why a lot of agents aren't able to harness, all the skills that they have, because they don't have that support.
Yeah.
They don't have anyone giving them that direction, giving them that structure that you're just not gonna have, or just innately.
What would be one thing you would say for a new agent? What's the one thing that they need to look for, whether it's in a brokerage, within themselves, whether it's whatever it is? What is one thing that you would tell a new agent?
Well, one thing, you got to be ready for it not to be that great for a while. So you got to be prepared.
Be prepared
for that
to be broke.
mentally. Yeah,
Be prepared to be broke for a
Some
little
people
while.
do it just for I've seen a lot of people that do it for like 2-3 months. So like, oh, this isn't cutting it. And
Yeah.
but you knew that, didn't you? It's like strictly commission.
No, they see us on TV closing on houses, or they see us on
They think it's
Instagram, and
easy.
they're like, "Oh, I could do that." I know people that want a house.
But really, I mean, unless you're a veteran agent, if you're just starting off, you really need to be somewhere that has that support system, that has that training, that can give you some sort of direction.
Yeah.
That you're always gonna need. I mean, I've been doing it for almost 5 years now, but I still don't know so much.
Yeah, there really is a lot.
And I think that's pretty much everybody too. Most brokers, I mean, our business changes all the time. Like I just took a new legal update and certain rules that just came into effect that weren't actually if you didn't if you're not staying on top of things.
Continuing education.
Yeah, and you don't have people around you that have that experience that can
Yeah.
offer different tidbits that you might
Different
not be
outlooks.
privy to in your everyday
Yep.
dealings. I think that's so invaluable. And that's why
I agree.
I like it here over other places. And obviously aside from the fact that there is no like minimum quota here. So if you're a new agent, you're struggling to tap into your sphere and figure out how you're gonna go about getting business and just doing whatever what you need to do.
I think here, like you're saying, kind of. I tell people like Houghton House is a family. Like we are either
Truly
texting
is.
each other or like, hey, can somebody help me with this? Does anybody have information on this?
Sure.
And everybody is really willing to help each other and kind of come together and get it done. Or if somebody's like, hey, is somebody on this side of town? Can someone show my client this house? Everybody is like, I'll do it for you. I'll do it. And I don't see that at a lot of brokerages, and a lot of agents I meet. They're like, oh, agents are charging me $100 to show a house, or they're charging
100 for open house.
Yeah, or like things like that. But I love that aspect of us, and like how we literally all come together and like make sure each other is taken care of in whatever
Right.
way we need. I
mean-
think that's super dope. Being agents, we talked about the struggles of the first year. We talked about the struggle of trying to find the right brokerage and just kind of getting organized and staying on track. But we do have great moments. We do have moments with clients where we have changed somebody's life and
Sure.
we didn't even know it. And to us, it's like, okay, I'm going to get you in a house, but we really don't know what that means to some people.
Right.
So I know we've all, come into people. What is something or maybe a transaction that you did that either meant a lot to you or to your client, or just a memorable one, whether it was like tough and it was just like I was ready to pull my hair out and quit, or if it was something that touched you?
So it was this year. In January, I closed on this deal with my client. We have been working together since August. And we finally ended up closing in January. But it was one thing after another. And so it was always something getting in the way of us either being able to put a home under contract or whatever the case may be. And his situation was unique. So the city purchased the community he lived in, and he had been living in his home for a very, very long time, and he loved his home. So for him, like, he was going through some emotional things. He's like, I have to move, and they gave him a certain time to be out of the house. So he was under a lot of pressure, and I could tell that it was weighing on him. So we sat on the phone for maybe like 2 hours,
Wow.
and I just encouraged him. Like, we talked, we prayed.
Wow.
Like, we sat on the phone for 2 hours, and it was just me just trying to encourage him. And it wasn't even be like, oh, I want to get him to the closing table so that he gets a house and then I get a check. Like, at this moment, he
Yeah.
really just needs someone to just,
It wasn't about the house anymore.
At all.
I think every realtor goes through that. Every realtor is a therapist at one point or
Yeah.
another in their career, because you run into a plethora of
Because people are buying houses for different reasons.
for so many reasons.
But that's
yeah.
why it's so important to have the proper agent, and an agent that's in it to actually hear what it is that you have to say and why you want what you want, versus an agent that's like, you pre-approved, you ready? Come on, let's go. And
Right.
let me just get this check.
They just want to secure the bag. Not leave any money on the table. I love that. I'm not going to leave any money on the table. That sounds like, I don't know, that sounds ratchet.
But I think that is really, really special. Like when you actually get to touch your clients and you actually have an effect on them.
But that's what it's supposed to be about.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Real
What
estate
about
is
you?
a people's business.
What?
What's the transaction? Maybe one of your favorite, something that you either touched a client, or it was like a hard transaction and you learned a lot from it, and now you know what to do to help the next person?
Oh man, so I wouldn't say it was my toughest, but it was my craziest deal. So I had I had a relative refer someone, and so I'm listing this individual's home, and then obviously the idea is I list the home and then I represent them on purchase of a new home. So there's a lot of money at stake here. So I want to make sure I do everything right. So it came to, and this, this is another reason why I don't like to work with family or people that know family, because they're just too much.
Don't do business with no family.
They're just too much. They want everything.
They want you to be Houdini.
Yeah, for nothing. And they want to go above and beyond like the parameters,
Hook me up, cuz.
So I'm holding an open house for this individual, and at this day, I told my wife she was going somewhere down the street. I said, just drive me off to the open house.
Yeah.
Instead of like me driving myself, just drop me off. You're going to be there for, a couple hours, come back and get me. We'll go to eat somewhere together after. All right, cool. She drops me off. I'm in there. There's like 2 families at the moment. One had just walked in. And I'm sitting there, just kind of talking. All of a sudden, the door swings open. And he's standing there with his kids. And he's breathing like this, and I'm like, oh my God, what is happening right now? And he's like, she forgot her charger. And I was like, okay, that's a little much for someone forgetting their charger. It took me a minute to catch on. I was like, does he think that I left the house open and just people are just coming in and out of his house? I think this is what he thought. Yes. That the way he stormed in there, it's like, Saving Private Ryan. I don't know what his deal was. He busted that door open, and everybody, all the people that were in there looking at the home were like, they thought they were gonna die. I was like, oh man,
for a charger?
For a charger. Well, that was all he could think of.
Allegedly.
He's like, she forgot her charger, and I was like, oh my God, like
What?
And so, that was nuts. So for that reason and other, situations I've been in, I try to stay away. I don't reject them, but I don't go after them.
What did you learn from that?
Man, you gotta put yourself out there, because I'm not trying to go through having to work with relatives and friends of relatives, and it was just too much. I can't handle that kind of stress.
Were you stressed out?
My life is hard, Caitlin.
He said, I can't live under that kind of
He
stress.
said my life is hard.
It's hard. I just keep it pushing, so.
Oh my gosh, I love Abraham.
This is why we've been trying to get Abraham on the podcast for forever.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I'm sure he has stories for days, but you guys are gonna catch up with Abraham.
So what about you?
I would say, I've had a ton of different transactions, but I don't want to say like the most inspirational. My recent one that I had, a friend of mine, she was going through a program. One of my sisters, I call her my sister. She was going through a program. The program she's probably 5 months in the program. And she's asking me questions and I'm giving her the answers, because through this program, you have to go through, their agents and stuff like that. And after a while, she just was like crying. She's like, I just really want to give my kids a backyard. I promised them this. And my kids want to go run in the backyard and have their own. So I was like, okay, what do you want to do? She was like, I need to get in a house. I said, all right. It was probably like September, October-ish around this time. We went and sat down, had our consultation. After listening to everything, I looked at everything. I said, listen, I'll have you in a house by December. I promise. So she's like, okay, let's do this. We go through the process. And long story short, we closed in November.
Wow.
We closed in November, and her kids and they all just cried because she has been working towards this, and she just really felt like it was never going to happen. Some of the things that I did learn during this process, and actually she brought it up, and we kind of worked together, we were able to stack programs.
What's that mean?
So what we did was like she got down payment assistance, and typically when you do down payment assistance, you just get that and that's it.
That's it.
Yeah. So we were able to stack 2 different programs, and the day before closing, one of the programs sent her another $1,600. So she came to the closing table with $1,000. She was stressed out before and like, well, you know what I mean? Do I need more money for closing? And the day before closing, they gave her another $1,600. She came
That's
to closing
amazing.
with $1,000, and she was just in tears.
That's amazing.
So for me, I was just like, I am so happy to be able to have brought that joy to your family. And she was like, the kids are just like, they're running around. They are so happy. They have their own rooms now. So for me, I love that aspect of being able to really just make an impact and make you guys happy, make the
Right.
families happy. And it's a purpose. Like, they didn't just want a house, you know, they want a big balling house. She
They
just
want to go to a
wanted,
different school.
yeah, she
They
just
want a
wanted
house, what they
something
want.
for her kids.
Wow.
She was like, my kids need a backyard, and I promised it to them. I'm going to help you get it. So learning that now, that you can stack programs, I'm all in. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm learning something new. So now that I can offer that to my next client
Right.
and get the next person in their house. So, I mean, being agents, we are, like you said, therapists. We are your realtor. We are your almost your contractor, because we got to come in and take a look at the house and see what needs to be done and all those different aspects. What is one thing that you want to close out with or take away?
Just to touch on what you're saying, I think that's what most people need to realize. Like the definition of a good agent or signs of a good agent are not someone that has 100,000 followers on Instagram.
Very true.
Most of these Instagram accounts can double as like OF accounts, but that's like another discussion.
Yeah.
But what it's about is do you have all of these qualities and characteristics when it comes to how you treat a client, how you approach a transaction? Is
Yeah.
it just a number to you, to that agent, or do they seem like they're truly genuine?
Yeah. What's a quality or characteristics you think people should look for in an agent? Anyone?
I mean, it's just a gut. You know how you have that gut feeling when you meet somebody.
Yeah.
Like, do you truly feel this person is genuine and sincere? If they just seem like they're putting on this act for this persona they have on, say, social media, which is like a big. I think a lot of people use it right, and some people don't. If they're going, what are you really going after? Like
Pretty much.
you want to go after somebody that. You can sense has that true, genuine, concern for whatever need you need, fulfilled. Not, just, let me show you what's your limit? Okay, this is your budget, that's your range. We're going to show you everything in the high end, right?
Yeah.
Or everything that pays the most commissions when it comes to
Right.
leasing an apartment, for instance, just in any aspect. So, I just think that's most important.
What do you think is a
Very true.
characteristic of an agent? So for people who are looking to buy, they're looking for an agent. We've already talked about how our brokerage does design. We're not just realtors. We are kind of like a one-stop shop. We have everything in-house. What is something that someone watching this needs to look for in picking an agent?
Integrity, for sure.
I love that.
So, some people some agents, your client will ask you a question and you really don't know the answer, but you just make up an answer. And then later on, it comes back that you made up something.
Never do
But
that.
I never do that. I will admit that, hey, I don't have the answer to that, but I'll find out and I'll let you know.
Beautiful.
But also, I'm not just going to advise you to buy a home that I know you shouldn't purchase just because I want a commission check. So, integrity.
I think that is really, 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 really big. So we thank you guys for joining us today and discussing becoming agents. So for those of you that are looking to become new agents, you're on the fence, you don't know where to start, or even home buyers looking to find an agent, feel free to reach out to us at Coton House. We'll leave the handle on the bottom. I'm Venetia again with Coton House.
I'm Caitlin with Coton House.
I'm Abraham at the Coton House.
And we will see you guys next time.
Bye.
I've been working all day. Can I catch a break?